The history of tea spreads across multiple cultures over the span of 1,000 years, with the tea plant Camellia sinensis, native to East Asia and probably originating in borderlands of southwest China and North Burma. One of the earliest tea drinking is dated back to China's Shang dynasty, in which tea was consumed as a medicinal drink. There is a myth behind drinking of tea. In one popular Chinese legend, Emperor Shennong was drinking a bowl of boiled water, and few leaves were blown from a nearby tree into this water, changing the color and taste. The emperor took a sip of the brew and was pleasantly surprised by its flavor and restorative properties. The Chinese have consumed tea for thousands of years. Earliest physical evidence comes from mausoleum of Emperor Jing of Han dynasty, indicated they used tea as early as 2nd century BC. In medical text Shai Hun, it stated, "To drink better tea constantly makes one think better." Before mid-8th century, tea drinking was primarily a southern Chinese practice, and it became widely popular during Tang dynasty. During Song dynasty, today's loose tea and practice of brewed tea originated. Yellow tea was accidental discovery in production of green tea during Ming dynasty. In 15th century, oolong tea was developed. Emperor Shennong 2737 BC was the first to name tea as cha, meaning to check or investigate. Up to mid-17th century, Chinese tea was green tea. As foreign trade increased, Chinese growers discovered that they could preserve tea leaves with special fermentation process. Tea has remained an integral part of Chinese culture for thousands of years. It was popular before Egyptians built Great Pyramids and was traded with Asian countries, or even before Europe left Dark Ages. The importance and popularity of tea in China continues in modern day and has become symbol of country's history, religion, and culture. Tea was introduced to Japan by Buddhist monks and spread during 6th century AD. Became a drink of religious classes in Japan and became a drink of royal classes soon. Green tea became staple among cultured people in Japan. The tea ceremony of Japan, Chenoi, was introduced from China in 15th century by Buddhists as semi-religious social custom. Today, tea is completely influenced in Japan culture. Tea is served with every meal and used to greet every guest. In Korea, first historical record of offering tea to an ancestral god is in a rite in 661 AD. The royal Yi family and aristocracy used tea for simple rites. The import of tea plants by Buddhist monks popularized more delicate series of teas and the tea ceremony. In early 17th century, a ship of Dutch East Indian Company brought first green tea leaves to Amsterdam from China, and tea was known in France by 1636. The Dutch dominated the tea trade until 1678, when the British began importing tea on a commercial scale. The history of tea in Russia can also be traced back to 17th century, when it was offered as a gift to Tsar Michael I in 1618, but he rejected the offer, delaying tea's Russian introduction by 50 years. In 1689, tea was regularly imported from China to Russia via a caravan of hundreds of camels traveling the year-long journey, making it a precious commodity at that time. In 1903, the camel caravan was replaced by the famous Trans-Siberian Railway. Tea was introduced to Europe by Italian traveler Giovanni Battista. Portuguese priests and merchants in the 16th century made their first contact with tea in China. The first record of tea in English came in 1615. The marriage of King Charles II in 1662 to the Portuguese Princess Catherine of Braganza brought the tea drinking habit to court. Though initially it was promoted as a medicinal tonic, it was taken as an all-purpose drink by the end of 17th century. And by 18th century, tea was sold by grocers and tea shops. By 1720, British drinkers began adding sugar and milk to tea, a practice that was not done in China. Tea remained a very important item in Britain's global trade. In fact, it is seen worldwide as a symbol of Britishness and also as a symbol of old British colonization. Drinking tea in USA was largely influenced by passing of Tea Act and its subsequent protests during American Revolution. Canadians were great tea drinkers from British colonization till World War II. US is responsible for few major changes in tea industry. Iced tea and tea bags were developed in US in 1904 and 1908 respectively. The Somali Aryan Empire of Africa, which established ties with Ming dynasty in 13th century, brought with them a myriad of commodities including tea. Sri Lanka is renowned for its high quality tea and fourth biggest tea producing country globally after China, India and Kenya. Commercial production of tea was first introduced to India by the British as an attempt to break the Chinese monopoly on tea. Tea was originally consumed by Anglicized Indians till 1950. Then tea grew widely popular through a successful advertising campaign by the Indian Tea Board. The Chinese variety is used for Sikkim, Darjeeling and Kangra tea, while Assam variety, clonal to the native to Assam, is used elsewhere. India was the top producer of tea for nearly a century, but it was displaced by China in the 21st century. The processes in tea making includes withering, in which moisture content is reduced to 55 to 70%, rolling, resulting in mixing of enzymes and polyphenols, fermentation, in which rolled leaves spread under controlled conditions of temperature, humidity and aeration, drying, in which the moisture content reduced to 3%, and packing, where the absorption of moisture is prevented. To make a cup of black tea, boil some water, add 1 teaspoon of sugar to it. Add a bit of tea powder. If you are preferring black tea, add less than half teaspoon tea powder, and if milk is to be added, 1 teaspoon of tea powder can be added. Add boiled milk to the black tea prepared and you will get normal tea. I hope you liked the story of tea. There are other varieties of tea as well, which will be explained in the next part. Thank you viewers for all the support. Keep watching with love. Say cheese.